cracks. Feel the drop, it takes you back. Heartbeats sync with dusty tracks. A sound attack, no plan, no map.
So TNA recently made some changes to their roster as far as bringing back three three people who already know to be in the company, extending one, and then we have several departures that we know are coming, some that are official. So, first of all, re-signing with the company, we have Ash by Elegance, John Schuyler, and Masha Slamovich. I think it's pretty clear that there's tiers to these contracts, right? Like, it seems like there's some of these dudes that and girls you're able to kind of to get for 3 years or so. I think Zaya Brookside was one of the longer ones, but it seems like the majority of these deals right now are about a year. Ash by Elegance was clearly on for a year. Nick Nemeth, who they are extending, who I don't believe he ever even signed. I think he was on a handshake, but it sounds like he's extended his commitment, probably through rebellion, is my opinion. Um, I think that I think him and Ryan are going to wrestle the Hardys at Rebellion for the titles, and I think that'll be it. That's just my prediction. But Ash by Elegance clearly had signed for a year, and Masha Slamovich didn't even know her contract was up. John Schuyler, I would imagine, was one of the longer term guys because I think he's actually been around for a while. There was a long period of time that he wasn't being used at all. When they put the good hands together, then that became a thing. But first and foremost, Ash by Elegance, I was really excited when they brought her on because she was rebranding herself. She was doing something different. She wasn't resting on her laurels. Like she was becoming a new character, trying to break out of the Dana Brooke mold, right? Um, and she's been a little disappointing. They did a pretty good job with building her up to Slammiversary without, you know, they didn't throw her in the title picture right away. They made her intentions known that she wanted to wrestle for the Knockouts Championship, but she wasn't like, man, my cat is driving me crazy. If you heard a noise here, I'm sorry. He just got on my desk and knocked everything off because he pisses me off. Um, they didn't rush her. You know what I mean? So I think that was a good thing, and she ended up having a very good match. Actually, two good matches with Jordan Grace, but everything else has been not so good. Her athleticism that she clearly has just doesn't translate to her wrestling, and it's been a bit of a disappointment. It's been a bit of a bomb, and at one point I thought maybe she only signed a 6-month deal because she might be out of here because this is not going well. I think once they added Heather by Elegance into the picture, I think they're onto something, and they're going to win the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. I'm confident of that, and I think they're going to have a pretty lengthy run because who are they going to wrestle? But I think they're going to be one of the more entertaining parts of the show. So I think she has a place on the show. When I say it was a disappointment, it was just because she hyped herself up like, "Hey, you're gonna see some shit," and she's had these matches. They just haven't been particularly good. A lot of very cringy segments, a lot of bad humor. I thought that she took the bad humor a little too far in the Jordan Grace feud, and at one point, I felt like she needed to get more serious. So it's just been a disappointment from one standpoint, but the character work is still pretty good. It's evolving. You know, when we had man, what the hell was her name? Uh Taylor Wilde, my bad. Taylor Wilde was doing that gimmick with the tarot cards, and it was just like god awful at first, and then it kind of found its footing. It was still not very good, but it found its footing because she had to find a way to get there. And I think that's the same with Ash. Like it's taken her a little bit to sort this character out. Um, but I'm looking forward to her and Heather by Elegance as a team, and I think that's going to do very well for the company. John Schuyler is clearly used in a enhancement talent role, and I think they need him in that role. But we're going to get to a point here pretty soon that I think he's going to be in that role as a solo act because Jason Hotch has to break off from this dude at some point. Jason Hotch can transfer into a baby face role very seamlessly, I think, because he doesn't really cut promos. There's no real heat on him. So Jason Hotch could literally be a baby face next week and people would be behind him because John Schuyler does all the heel work. But I think we're gonna get to the point where he's a solo act, but he has a spot in the company, and my assumption was that they upped his pay because he posted on Twitter the other day where he was pretty excited about the future of TNA, and I kind of took from that like, hey, they just gave this dude a raise, you know. I explained to you guys that the pay cut when the dirt sheets were running with, hey, these wrestlers are being asked to take pay cuts. They're trying to strengthen the pay structure to where the rhinos at the top are not, you know, um, making what all these guys at the bottom combined are making. Like they're trying to find some kind of balance. So I wouldn't be surprised they didn't, double what they paid John Schuyler. Masha Slamovich didn't even know the contract was up. She she's the knockouts champion. Obviously, they love to flirt with contracts running out and someone holding a title. They have historically loved to flirt with that. I mean, we'll get into that a little bit more here in a second, but she's a knockouts champion. Was she working without a contract? I don't know. She's going to have potentially a very big 2025. I have concerns that she's going to drop the title at Rebellion to Tessa Blanchard because the knockouts title picture is not something they typically drag out stories with. Clearly, they did it with Ash by Elegance. She wrestled at Slammiversary for the title, I believe. So I think they pushed that one out quite a bit, but that's not the norm. The norm is let's put this person in the title picture as quickly as humanly possible. And they're not going to have Tessa Blanchard lose anytime soon. So I hope that they keep the two of them far apart. And the way that I think they can do that, if they can get Kylan King back, she can have a program with Masha. If Killer Kelly comes back, I have no clue whatsoever. I get the feeling that she is not in good standing with the company, but I might be reading between the lines a little bit too much. But if she comes back, she can do a very, very good program with Masha. And between the two of them, they can drag things out a little bit and push Masha versus Tessa down the road. Because if Masha drops his title too quickly to Tessa, she's going to be right back in a position she was last year. And they're trying to build a star here. But she's someone I think everyone likes quite a bit. And then they extended Nick Nemeth. They did not say for how long. Well, they didn't say how long any of these were, but my prediction is that he does ultimately kind of turn heel with Ryan Nemeth, and they wrestle the Hardys, probably lose, and then I think he'll be kind of done at that point. But it sounds like from his interviews that he is here for Rebellion and possibly Slammiversary too. Like he's talking about, hey, we're going for it as far as these bigger venues. So 6 months is a possibility. I don't expect it to go on beyond that, but um, it's good to have him around. He's a big name. I haven't really enjoyed his title run a whole lot because his promos are the same thing. The matches haven't been good, and it's not that he's not good. It's just that they're overbooking and overproducing the matches. You know what I mean? So, like, if he does a tag team match or something like that, it's fine. But other than that, it's been a little disappointing for me. But he's a big name. That's someone you do need to sell tickets. So it's good that he's sticking around for a little bit. And we have some departures. I'm not going to talk about all of them because I've spoken on another podcast before, but it looks like PCO is on his way out. People think I hate PCO. I don't hate PCO. And, I met him once. And he was very, very nice. I don't even really hate the character that much. I just hated the way the dude was being used. I was sick of Monsters Ball, sick of him not losing, sick of whoever he was in a feud with getting pushed down the card afterwards or becoming irrelevant. No one, what I always say is that no one is better for a feud with PCO. No one comes out better on the other side. It has not happened, not a single time since he was around. He was promised the world title, which I've been telling you guys is an issue. That is a problem. Bringing these guys, I promise you, you will have a belt. Clearly, they did it to Rhino too, because he was a tag team champion. These promises are going to kill them because if you can't fulfill the promise, because creatively it doesn't make sense to do that, then you have a falling out with the freaking wrestler. So we had PCO for how many years running through everybody. No one's better for it. Now he's leaving. He's got the titles. That's why I said they love to flirt with contract statuses, you know, being up in the air and someone having a championship. And now this fool is leaving. Like he's not even going to be a Genesis, but he's got two freaking titles. And then it looks like Jonathan Gresham is out of here. They just never quite knew what to do with him. They had a couple storylines that kind of started and stopped throughout the years. It wasn't just the octopus one. I mean, they had a couple other that they were looked like they were trying to do. They're flirting with trying to do something with them. And then they just always kind of brought him back to just being Jonathan Gresham, just being a dude, just being a wrestler. And we've talked about some of these other departures. I expect to see Rich Swann back. Um, Trent Seven, that's going to be interesting because he was starting to do some good heel work. So I kind of want to see that play out. So I hope that they come into some kind of terms with him. You know, Kushida was once the machine guns left, it was like he was screwed. You know, I could see that coming from a mile away. So I'm not going into every single departure here. You know, maybe further down the line, we'll kind of talk about all the signings, all the departures, and in one podcast. But we are expecting Jordan Grace to be done here very soon. Passing the torch to Masha, passing it to, I guess she broke the torch in half because she's going to pass half to Masha and half to Tessa. That's the right move. That's the right thing to do because how many times have I said it? How many times have you guys said it? Is the state of the knockouts this year, not being prepared for all the departures that they had at the top. Seems like this year they're a little more prepared. Plus, I think when Kylan King comes back, that she can. I'm really high on her. I was high on her before she came to the company, so I think she can kind of get up there to the top. I've always thought Zaya Brookside could be a really big baby face for the company, but I don't think they're going to push her to that level. And you know, Leijing Lee, I we'll see. We'll see where they can go with her. That's to me, that's a little bit of a difficult push, but the knockouts division is starting to come together a little bit. If they can get their hands on Ella Envy that just left NWA, I think she would be a very good addition. I don't think she would wrestle at the top like she did NWA, but she does some good character work. So you know, I think that's someone you want to look at bringing in. But there's some talent out there. We're going to continue to talk about guys and girls coming and going and all these things. But you guys got to keep in mind a lot of these departures are guys that were overpaid and didn't want to take a pay cut to stick around. You know, and why would if my job came to me right now, hey, take a pay cut, like, oh yeah, okay, I'm leaving. I don't really understand that, but I kind of get it at the same time because you have you're you feel disrespected or whatever. But it's going to be a very interesting free agency period because they're going to be able to pay the people at the bottom a little bit more. They may not swing for the fence quite as hard at the top. And maybe that puts us in a position where we start, we get young talent that you can actually build up to that main event scene. Because the problem is you bring in the good for nothing brothers for $250,000, and then you got this guy at the bottom wrestling for $200. Like there's a big gap there. And how can you ever elevate that person at the bottom up to the top when you basically paying these people to be in the main event at all times? So it's just going to be interesting free agency period for Impact, for TNA. I'm sorry, but we will be talking about it here on the channel as it happens. I'm your boy BQ. I'm out. Peace.